the Toronto Maple Leafs are the next team on the docket for a Vancouver team that has won 6 straight games under new head coach Bruce Boudreau. The Leafs obviously a big test, but Johnny, as you noted just a second ago, Kerfoot and Tavares, who, by the way, I don't think we're talking enough about how good Tavares has been this season. They're going to be out of the lineup. They've entered COVID protocol, but this is still a pretty big test for Vancouver, no?
Yeah, I think it's probably the biggest, right, of the games they've played so far, because as I mentioned earlier, I think the Canucks, they have benefited from the schedule being somewhat favorable. They've been at home for the games outside of the game that they won in San Jose. They've been playing teams in some cases where it's a second of a back-to-back. The first one, go back to the very first one, the LA Kings. They had just gone into Edmonton and won there, probably emotionally wrung out from a big victory that night. They didn't have much gas in the tank. The Canucks won that game, and it was similar things. They beat the Bruins. The Bruins had been dealing with some illness within their group. They flew out a day later. They went on and they played. The other teams along the way in this, they've just had good opportunities, good spots, as I like to say. So now they get a Leafs team that they get a player back. Now they'll miss Tavares, obviously, and Kerfoot, but the Leafs will be ready to go. They won't be having played the night before. So, Johnny, I think this is going to be probably the biggest test so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Leafs have been sitting around waiting to play someone for 4 or 5 days now, so they're rested. They're, I guess, feeling relatively healthy, COVID situations aside, and it will be a greater test. And I also like this, having played for Toronto, having worked around Canada a long time, there's something about playing 7 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock local, and nothing gets the Canucks fans and players more aggravated than changing their start times to accommodate the Toronto Maple Leafs.
True.
They don't like it. They won't be happy about it. It'll be a rallying cry, even if it's, I guess they'll have a full house, but then it's going to go to lesser to that. But yeah, this will be a different game. This will be a good challenge. But if Vancouver wants to try to get to where they are trying to go to, they're going to eventually have to beat good teams where they don't have the scheduling advantage. And this is one of those cases. Toronto is one of the best teams in the league. According to me, they're the 3rd best team in the league. And so Vancouver needs to keep this ball rolling because they need to get guys behind them. They've done a great job closing the gap. It's just 4 points to Edmonton, although there's some games played that have to be made up by Edmonton. But with a win, they could jump over the 2 teams in front of them in San Jose and LA. And then it seems much more feasible. We only have to catch one team. It's just one team we need to lose a game, and we gain ground on them. And I think that's the kind of slow and steady progression they're trying to make. Will involve beating good teams like Toronto in games like they'll have to play tomorrow.
You know what's so crazy about this game coming up? There's so much talent offensively in this game. Austin Matthews, of course, on one side. Tavares not going to play. Marner's out of the picture right now. But on the other side, Brock Besser's on a heater. Elias Pettersson. Forget all that. I can't wait to see this goaltending battle because Jack Campbell has been having such a good season for the Leafs. Like, this guy makes crazy saves every night for the Leafs, timely ones. And then Thatcher Demko, to your point earlier in the show, Johnny, has been lights out for Vancouver, especially since Bruce Boudreau came into the mix. So to me, I can't wait to see this goaltending battle. Yeah,
it's going to be a good one. There's no doubt about it. And as Johnny mentioned, I mean, they have really leaned on Thatcher Demko a lot, and mostly because they're a team that they don't defend that well. I mean, that's the reality. That Jimmy Rutherford, I think job 1 in Vancouver will be to get some defensemen that could come in there and help them be good in their own end. I think what Bruce Boudreau has done, though, is tried to play into their strengths more, which is to turn loose a Quinn Hughes and some of their other defenders. And we had Mike Kelly on yesterday talking about that transition in the neutral zone, how they've been up in the play more, and they've been trying to push that puck back down into the offensive zone and make things happen there. So we'll see how things play out against the Leafs, but I agree with you. And Johnny, I mean, that goaltending matchup, it's pretty, right now it's as good as you get. There's 2 really good goaltenders.
And I don't know if it's going to matter, Ege, because who knows with the world, but these 2 guys might be the 2 goaltenders battling for the 3rd American goaltending position.
You're right.
On Team USA.
Really solid.
I mean, if you're going to give Gibson and Hellebuck 1-2 because of what they've done, and you're going to give 3rd to the hottest American goalie, that could be Campbell or Demko. So maybe there's something there. And also a little note that I picked up watching Quinn Hughes as of late, and we'll watch him tomorrow night. He's put white tape on his stick. He's always used black, and now he's gone to white, and he's racking up the points. Now, people say, well, who cares? I tell you what, players go to white because it feels more offensive. They use white in the summer. It's not as kind of nitty-gritty. It's more free-flowing, which maybe speaks to the new attitude with Bruce Brown. White tape on Quinn Hughes. Check it. he's rolling with it.
Whatever he's doing.
These are the nuggets.
That's right.
That people need to hear.
Yes, and I'll tell you, whatever he's doing, keep doing it. Because I've been watching him over the last several games. Boy, has he played well.
Certainly has. This has got to be one of the biggest feel-good stories of the season, right?
Yeah, no question about it. And we're happy for our former colleague, Bruce Boudreau. We all, I think, have gotten, if you didn't know him before he got here, I think his time here, he's just one of those guys. You just like him because he's so real. He's a hockey lifer, and here he is, very authentic. Attaboy, Bruce. You gotta like, but it's real, right? It's not manufactured stuff with Bruce, but they've done a nice job. And I'll tell you what, I was really impressed with the as we look at the difference points-wise. I mean, they've made a move up the standings here with these wins. The thing I was really impressed with was that win the other night against Columbus, because they had been rolling. The Jackets came in. The Jackets weren't on a second of a back-to-back like several of these other teams that played the Canucks had been on.
Yeah.
They're a team out of conference that doesn't inspire like a lot of emotion, right? Yeah. If you're the Canucks.
It's nothing like a Western Conference divisional match.
Exactly. Then you're playing your number 2 goalie, Halak. They decided to make that move, and I think it was the right move because they were looking down the road at the schedule. It would have been tough to throw Yarrow into a back-to-back situation having not played in a while, fall behind 3-0 in the game, and find a way to rally. Quinn Hughes was great, and they were terrific. So that was the one to me, full marks. That could take you a long way, a win like that.
Not surprising to see those comments coming from you in your pro-Canucks garb.
Yes, I am. Exactly. Yes.
Exactly. You know, anytime you
I'm on the bandwagon.
Anytime you were on the bandwagon before.
They're my Canucks again.
Yes. You ditched them, and now
I ditched them, and now they're back.
You know, anytime you substitute a coach for another, and the personalities are somewhat similar, just the change alone, you're going to get some bounce. But when a guy like Bruce Boudreau walks into the center of the room and he wears his heart on his sleeve and he's a no-nonsense communicator, and he's got a lot of, we all learned this, he's got a lot of passion for the game. Yeah. In and of itself, that can be a real shot in the arm. Never mind the X's and O's. Never mind all the one-on-ones he's had with each and every, contributing member of that roster. So looks good on Bruce, looks good on the organization. And hey, that city deserves a competitive hockey team. That's a top 9 that really I think you'd rank among the better in the Western Conference. They're pretty dangerous up front.
Yeah, I think we all knew, they're not as bad as they are playing right now, and that's part of what we're seeing now is them actually play to their potential and to their skill level and believing in themselves. And when Bruce took over behind the bench, they were 9 points out of a playoff spot. Amazing. And we've seen this before, right? You can go on a winning streak, and it's tough to make up ground.
Absolutely.
Well, they have made up ground because now, as of yesterday, they were 4 points out of a playoff spot. So that's to make up 5 points in 10 days is pretty wild to think about. And you look at some of their upcoming games. They got the Sharks a couple of times in the next week. Yeah. Those are big games. That's one of the teams that they are chasing. The Ducks, another team, obviously, that they're chasing. The Ducks, though, I mean, they don't look like they're going to slow down. I don't know.
Yeah, no, they are playing some really good hockey right now. And that Coyotes game is important, too, because that's the kind of game you have to win. And remember, those two teams made a big trade, so there's some players on both sides that will be getting to see each other in that meeting, so it might take on a little different significance for those individuals. But, you just got to keep winning. And think about it. The Canucks put together their winning streak of 5 in a row. You put that in combination with the Oilers losing 6 in a row. Yeah. The Canucks made up 10 points in, 10 days?
Yep.
Nobody could have predicted that was going to happen. So it's crazy. It's just a reminder how long the 82-game schedule is.
We got to ask you about Bruce Boudreau's Canucks. I mean, they're going for their 6th straight W tonight. It's my favorite story. It's most people's favorite story in hockey right now. What have you noticed about these new look, new vibe Vancouver Canucks?
Vibe. I love that.
It's a
That's
new
good.
vibe, right?
They've got a vibe. They've got some energy. They look rejuvenated. I was talking about this on the Fly Show last night, but the thing that stands out the most is their transition game, kind of going from a team that wasn't great in terms of getting up the ice quick to one that is very good. And you look at the ozone possession, it's actually less under Bruce Boudreau per game at even strength. But you don't need a ton of ozone possession when you're getting up and you're getting in quick and you're attacking quickly. Regroups. How many of those regroups in the neutral zone when they kind of collect themselves is the next play a quick up the ice? Went from 30% to 45% under Bruce Boudreau. That's number 1 in the league since Boudreau took over. Completing passes in the neutral zone, that's execution. Much better under Bruce Boudreau. And ultimately, you want these regroups to lead to ozone possession so you can build on those chances. Under 30% of their regroups did that. Under Travis Green, they were playing in a bit of a different way. They're almost at 50% under Bruce Boudreau. So that transition game, they get the puck in the neutral zone. It's go north and go north fast. That's how Bruce Boudreau likes to play. That's how he's got the Canucks playing. I wondered if this would expose a below-average decor a little bit, playing this quick kind of game. It has not. It has worked really well. Thatcher Demko's been great. Halak got a good final 40 minutes in the last game. You know, Columbus was the first team in this little stretch that said, you know, we're going to take that thing away from you. We're going to try to slow you down, jam you up. And they did a good job of it.
Yeah, I would say looking at those numbers, too, a lot of that regroup is Quinn Hughes kind of being active, right? I mean, he's really good at that. But it tells me that the game, a lot of the game maybe is being played in the neutral zone more because there's not a lot of time in the offensive zone, but I would suspect there's not a lot of time in the defensive zone either because they're making those regroups and it's kind of being played basically a little bit more geographically on the offensive side than the defensive side. Would that make sense?
It does, and their defensive numbers have been better, top 10 expected goals against since Boudreau took over. Again, we're talking a short sample here, but I always, I talk to coaches about this. I view the neutral zone as a pendulum. I think it's the most important zone on the ice because if you tilt it the way you want,
you're coming
versus
back
what you don't,
yep.
right? You cannot get scored on if the puck's in the offensive zone. Impossible. You might not score a ton, but you're not going to get scored on. So I almost view ozone time as much as a defensive measure. About a quarter of the goals scored in the league at even strength come off the rush. It's a high amount that come quick. So, when you can kind of tilt that pendulum your way, which is what they're doing, it's going to help you.
Certainly. I hope that they win again because I just think it's so fun. I don't mind that he doesn't like the chant. I've said it many times now. I don't believe that he doesn't like the chant. I think he just doesn't want it to be about him. So he's
and
like,
I think Bruce, because he's such an experienced guy and he was a player for a long time, I think he's aware, and I think we've seen this in other sports with other coaches. I think he's aware of the fact that, to your point, Jackie, I think you're bang on. It's about the players. And he deflects to the players. He's done it at almost every press conference he's done. He's trying to build those guys up. And at the end of the day, that's smart coaching because really he's been around long enough to know if the players are playing well, I look good. If the players are not playing well, I'm not going to look good. So he's trying to get these guys, lift them up a little bit, give them that respect that they expect. They may not say it to us in the media, but the players are always keeping an eye on things. I always say it. They know everything that's going on, and I think they appreciate the fact that Bruce is giving them their due as, hey, he's kind of building things up for us again.
For sure. It's everything Bruce is doing right now seems to be working. He's pressing all the right buttons.
On the ride home, though, he's in the car, and he's like, Bruce, there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. He definitely likes it. Like, come on. Who wouldn't love having a crowd, an arena full of people chanting your name for a good reason?
That's so funny.
I
couldn't handle it. I'd be like right along with them. That'd be bad, right?
The players would be like,
players would be like, what are you
Hollywood? Get this guy out of here. That's good. All right, how about Adam? He would like to know, are the Canucks for real now? Is it time? Are they for real? Are they going to make the playoffs?
The Canucks are for real. They're playing like maybe we expected a little more, and certainly you got to keep it measured. You have to keep it in perspective, but Bruce Boudreau has given them that shot of adrenaline that the Vancouver Canucks players needed, and certainly all their young guns who were struggling collectively. It wasn't just one or two or three. It was top to bottom. Nobody could do a thing until Bruce Boudreau got there, and he just let them have fun, play their game, and right now he's pushed all the right buttons. But I do think we're seeing more of what the Canucks are now in this stretch. Will they go through a hiccup maybe a little later, Rupper? Probably, but it's fun to watch.
Sounded like you said boost Boudreau. When I like that, because he's been quite the boost for them.
Boost, there it is.
No, they are for real as far as I think they will be able to make a push for the playoffs.
All right, I agree with you guys. They were 9 points back when Bruce took over, and now they're only 4 points back. So they are much better than they looked early in the season.